Some creatures are more than just whispers in the dark. Creatures so strange and so terrifying that imagining their existence is enough to haunt your dreams. From the icy seas of Scotland to the tropical islands of the Philippines to the medieval waters of Europe, these myths have traveled through centuries. And today, we will uncover 3 of the most mysterious sea monsters. Creatures whose names still echo through old stories and whose shadows might still linger beneath the waves. So listen carefully, because once you hear their stories, you might never forget them. Number 1. Siren Croyne. The Siren Croyne comes from ancient Scottish folklore. It was first described in Gaelic tales hundreds of years ago. Stories say this beast was so large, it could swallow 7 whales in a single meal. Imagine that. But what made it terrifying was not just its size. Legend says the Siren Croyne had the power to change its shape. It could disguise itself as a small silver fish, harmless, beautiful, tempting to catch. But once brought aboard a boat, it would transform into its true form, a monstrous serpent of the deep, towering above men and ships, before dragging everything down into the dark sea. Fishermen in the Scottish Highlands whispered of catching strange fish, only to hear storms rise moments later, as if the sea itself was alive. Even poets of the 18th century wrote of the Siren Croyne, describing it as the greatest terror of the ocean. Some believed it was a warning from nature that greed taking too much from the sea would call forth this monster to punish mankind. Number 2. Bakunawa. From the Philippines comes the legend of the Bakunawa. This creature's name appears in folklore that dates back as early as the 16th century during the Spanish colonization. Described as a giant sea serpent with a mouth so wide it could swallow the moon. In fact, the Bakunawa was believed to cause eclipses. Whenever the moon disappeared, villagers said the serpent had risen from the ocean and swallowed it whole. Old Visayan and Hiligaynon chants were recited during eclipses, begging the Bakunawa to spit the moon back out. Some even beat drums and shouted into the night to scare the beast away. But the Bakunawa was not only a moon eater. Legends say it lurked in the deepest parts of the sea, its scales glittering like silver, its eyes glowing red in the dark. It was feared as the bringer of disaster, earthquakes, floods, and disease. The 17th century missionary Francisco Ignacio Alcina even recorded these beliefs, noting how local people truly lived in fear of the Bakunawa. For them, this was not just a story. This was reality, a force of nature that demanded respect. Number 3. Aspidocolone. The Aspidocolone is one of the strangest sea monsters of medieval Europe. It was first described in the Physiologus, a Greek text from around the 2nd century AD, and later in the 12th century bestiary manuscripts. Sailors wrote that the Aspidocolone looked like a massive whale, or sometimes even like a floating island. Its back was so large that grass and trees grew upon it. Unsuspecting sailors would land on what they thought was solid ground, light their fires, and set up camp. But soon, the island would move, because it was not land, it was the Aspidocolone itself. With a sudden plunge, it would drag entire ships and crews into the depths of the ocean. Medieval texts even gave the beast a symbolic meaning. Christian writers claimed the Aspidocolone represented the devil, deceptive, alluring, and deadly. But for sailors of the Middle Ages, it was more than a symbol. It was a very real fear, a reminder that the ocean was not to be trusted. Travelers in the 13th century wrote of living islands seen in the Atlantic, shadows so large they dwarfed ships. Whether those were whales, volcanic rocks, or something far more sinister, we may never know. These were the tales of the Siren Croyne, the Bakunawa, and the Aspidocolone, 3 monsters that haunted the oceans of legend. Do you believe they were only myths? Or could something like them still be out there in the deep? Share your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you never miss the next journey into the unknown, because the ocean still hides many secrets